Tonight, when the sun goes down, you are going to flip a switch. Light will instantly flood the room, and you won't think twice about it. But for 99.9% of human history, that switch did not exist. The moment the sun set, the world went dark. You couldn't even see your own hand in front of your face. Modern humans almost never experience this. For over 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors spent roughly half their life in near total darkness. Furthermore, they didn't even have candles for most of that time, just the pitch black sky, the stars, and whatever fire they could keep alive. So what did they actually do for all those long hours? The answer fundamentally shatters all our assumptions about sleep, storytelling, and what it means to be human. Let's start with fire, because fire is the sole reason any of this was possible. The earliest solid evidence of humans controlling fire stretches back roughly 1 million years ago to Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa. But fire didn't just keep people warm, it completely restructured the human day. Before fire, our ancestors were just like every other primate. When the day ended, you climbed a tree or found a sheltered spot and you stayed still. Moving at night meant becoming direct prey. Our eyes are terrible in the dark compared to the predators that hunted us. Leopards, hyenas, wolves, all of them could see perfectly fine at night. Fire inverted that equation overnight, literally. A campfire creates a circle of safety roughly 30 feet in diameter. Inside that circle, predators will not come. Outside that circle lies absolute death. This is not an exaggeration. Even today, anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have documented that people who wander away from the fire at night are significantly more likely to be killed by predators. But here is what's truly fascinating. Fire didn't just protect humans at night. It gave them something they had never possessed before. Extra hours. Think about this. Before fire, the productive day ended at sunset. That meant maybe 12 hours in the summer, and sometimes as few as 8 hours in the winter. Fire suddenly added 2 to 4 hours of usable time to every single day. And over thousands of generations, those extra hours transformed our species. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published a study. After spending years recording conversations among the Jew-Huanzi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth still living close to the original human lifestyle, what she discovered was striking. During the day, about 80% of conversations were practical. Who is hunting where? Which plants are ripe? Complaints, logistics, and economic negotiations. Daytime talk was entirely work-oriented, but at night around the fire, the entire character of conversation changed. 81% of conversations were stories, tales of people in distant places, adventures, myths about the origins of the world, and jokes that made the whole camp laugh. Wiesner argued that human culture was born in these fireside chats. The campfire was the original theater, the original classroom, and the original temple. It was where humans learned to think beyond the immediate present and imagine things that did not exist yet. The process of making us who we are began right there. Yet, the night wasn't just about tales around the fire. In the background, something else was happening, something that scientists only rediscovered in the last 30 years. You were not actually designed to sleep the way you sleep right now. In 2001, historian Roger E. Kirch published a paper that radically changed sleep science. He had spent 16 years digging through historical archives and reached a completely unexpected finding. He encountered the exact same phrases across more than 500 sources spanning centuries, prayer books from the 1400s, court records, diaries, medical texts, letters from ordinary people, and even passages in Homer's Odyssey. All of them mention first sleep and second sleep. Before the Industrial Revolution, people did not sleep in one continuous block. They went to bed shortly after sunset, slept for about 4 hours, and then woke up. They stayed awake for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night. Then they fell back asleep for another 4-hour block until dawn. This wasn't insomnia. This was completely natural. This was how every human on the planet slept for thousands of years. And what did people do during that wakeful phase in the middle of the night? Everything imaginable. A 16th century French physician recommended that couples choose this window to conceive children, believing they would be much more successful. People visited neighbors, interpreted their dreams while they were still fresh, wrote, or simply lay in bed in the dark, lost in deep thought. A medical manual from the 1500s advised patients that the most productive time to study and reflect was during the watch. Those peaceful hours between first and second sleep, when the mind was at its calmest and the world was stillest. Historians had been running across these references for centuries, but they had always translated the phrase "first sleep" as something else because they couldn't imagine that people ever slept differently than we do now. This preconception was so deep that translators literally distorted ancient Greek and medieval Latin texts just to make them fit their modern experience. But later, science confirmed what history had been saying all along. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Weir ran an experiment at the National Institute of Mental Health. He took a group of volunteers and removed all artificial light from their lives. For 1 month, they were subjected to 14 hours of darkness every night, just like our ancestors before fire extended the evening. Within a few weeks, every single participant settled into the same pattern on their own. 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours of peaceful wakefulness, followed by 4 more hours of sleep. Nobody told them to do this. Nobody suggested it. Their bodies just did it naturally, as if some ancient program, buried under centuries of artificial light, had suddenly reawakened. Weir measured their hormone levels during this wakeful period and found something mesmerizing. The participants were in a state completely different from normal waking consciousness. Their brains were producing elevated levels of prolactin, the same hormone released during meditation and after intimacy. The subjects described this window as a peaceful, reflective, and almost meditative process. It wasn't just a gap in sleep, it was an entirely separate dimension of consciousness that most modern humans have never tasted. So, what destroyed this rhythm? The answer is simpler than you'd think. Light. In the 1600s, cities began installing street lamps. Paris, under Louis XIV, who wanted to reduce crime, was a pioneer in this. And London soon followed. The night, which had been a place of fear and danger, slowly transformed into a navigable space. Then came cheaper candles, followed by gas lamps in the 1800s. Finally, in 1879, Thomas Edison commercialized the electric light bulb, and within a single generation, the night, as humanity had known it for 300,000 years, was completely gone. And here is the part nobody talks about. The English word curfew comes from the French couvre-feu. It literally translates to cover fire. In medieval towns, a bell would ring at night, signaling everyone to extinguish or cover their fires, not just for safety, but because the night was supposed to be dark. Night was when you slept. It was when you were vulnerable. For most of history, being out after dark raised immediate suspicion. In many medieval European cities, walking outside after dark without a lantern was literally a crime. The night belonged to criminals and the supernatural. People feared the dark in a way that is almost impossible for us to comprehend today. And then, we conquered the night. We flooded it with light and mistook it for progress. Yet, we lost something precious along the way. Modern humans are exposed to artificial light an average of 7 to 8 hours after sunset. This light, especially the blue light emitting from screens, suppresses the body's production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep cycles. Your body cannot tell the difference between a light bulb and the sun. When light hits your retinas at 11 p.m., your brain interprets it as daytime. It delays melatonin release and fragments your sleep. It upends the circadian rhythm that evolved over millions of years. Researchers have found that people who go camping for just 1 week with absolutely no artificial light have their melatonin cycles reset by nearly 2 hours. Their bodies start producing melatonin right at sunset, rather than hours after it. That is all it takes for a 300,000-year-old genetic program to kick back in. We didn't just change our bedtime, we eliminated an entire phase of human consciousness. That peaceful, reflective period between first and second sleep, the state VAERS subjects described as harmonious and meditative, no longer exists for most people. Instead, we have insomnia, and we treat it like a medical disorder. But what if it isn't a disorder at all? What if waking up at 2 a.m. and lying there in the dark isn't your body malfunctioning? What if it is your body remembering exactly what it was built to be?